Hello and thanks for joining us. That was Bulgarian pianist Maria Martinova playing music from her new album Nuit et Jour, or Night and Day, with works from Debussy, Ravel and Zanon. She joins me in the studio. Hello, thank you for being here. Now, to start, describe this album.
There are a lot of layers there. First of all, this album is extremely important for me for one particular reason. It's my comeback to my solo career. For quite a few years, I was fully dedicated to chamber music, and that was a decision that was very consciously taken after certain events in my professional life some years ago. So it is a journey back to myself, and it's a confrontation with my own self alone behind the piano. This is the personal reason. And also I decided to record at a moment which was not very luminous, and there is a very symbolic meaning to this recording. It's really that journey that we start in the dark night of the soul and we go towards the light of
There's
life.
lots of talk of nature as well in it. Well, let's take a listen. This is Bells Through the Leaves by Claude Debussy. Very delightful to listen to that on
That was actually just from the recording itself, when I was recording.
on a Friday afternoon. It's a pleasure to listen to that. Now, Maria, you trained in Bulgaria.
Yes, I started training in Bulgaria. Yes.
And London's Royal Academy of Music. So you've got a lot of international experience all over the world. Tell us how you found music in the beginning then.
How I found music, it was, I guess, a bit inevitable. In fact, not a bit, perhaps completely inevitable. Both of my parents are opera singers. I grew up at the opera. And my mother's sister is a pianist. And that was the first person who put me behind the piano. She was not my teacher, because very quickly a decision was taken that I will have a teacher who is not a member of the family. But my aunt really, she spent many years working with me, so she taught me something very important, the discipline of work. But the piano was never imposed on me. I really wanted to play the piano.
Maria, you happen to be here in France the week where the nominations for the equivalent of the classical music Grammys have been announced.
Yes, I just saw actually a couple of days ago the first announcement.
It's the 30th edition of the Victoire de la Musique Classique. The results will be in March. For Best Solo Musician, the nominations are viola player Lucille Boulanger, violinist Nemanja Radulovic, and pianist Bertrand Chamayeux. Let's take a listen. Maria, tell us then, as an expert, and what makes a great classical musician?
Well, it's a combination of factors. I think I'm going to say something that is very conventional, but you have to want to be a classical musician. You have to love this music. You have to not be able to live without it, I guess. It takes a lot of discipline. it takes perseverance, it takes thick skin, it takes courage.
Well, I want to ask you in a minute about being a woman in classical music. In the Best Opera Singer category for the Victoire de la Musique, there are 3 women nominated. There are no men. Leia Desandre, Barbara Hannigan and Marina Viotti. Women in classical music are in the spotlight of late because of the film Tar, starring Cate Blanchett as a prestigious conductor of a major German orchestra. And she is tipped for an Oscar.
Do you ever find yourself overwhelmed by emotion?
Yes. Yes, that does happen.
For years, we've been talking about the classical music scene being male-dominated. You started very young. What's your experience been like?
Well, I started very young, but I started in a very different context. First of all, I started in Bulgaria. I was actually one of the child prodigies of Bulgaria, and that is a very different context to start a career. Also, let's not forget that when I was growing up in Bulgaria, also the political and system was completely different. So art had a very different significance, very different importance, very different place, and a lot of attention was paid to it. After I left Bulgaria, I started, confronting and getting to know very different dynamics in the professional field from what I knew. I had, in fact, I mentioned also in between the lines when I very briefly described my album Nuit, Jour, Night and Day, saying that it's a comeback to my solo career and the decision to step away from performing as a soloist, because when I took that decision, actually, there was a moment when very big doors were opening, very, very big doors, which rarely open in front of a young musician, but that was coming as the price. I was a young and very good-looking girl, and it was very clearly made what was expected from me, and I was just not ready, prepared. It's just not in my character to pay that price. So I walked away.
Okay.
I walked away. I didn't walk away from music, but I walked away from that situation.
And now, as loads of women are speaking out about their experience...
Yes, I think it's a very... excuse me, I cut you a little bit, but I think it's a bit of a dangerous situation, because I think this is very much connected to the Me Too movement, which I find is a dangerous zone to go to, because now I find there is an extreme situation where this is not only with women predominantly being present or taking over in a certain field. There are certain situations that are imposed in different fields that are, I think, very connected to a certain way to deal with things in a politically correct way. I think it's great if things change for women. I personally don't believe that human nature changes, though.
So you don't think it would be for you to talk out and name the people who put you in that situation?
I don't. No, I don't think mentioning the names will change anything, because what I did is I had the courage to say no to very big possibilities, but to preserve my integrity and my freedom, my artistic freedom. And actually, I was, funnily enough, over these years, having walked away from very big opportunities, in the luxurious position to do the things I like to do exactly the way I want to do them, without anybody imposing anything with me. But I'm not saying it was easy. Absolutely not. But I'm not there on a crusade to be doing a witch hunt and to be saying this person, that. They know who they are. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in continuing with saying what I have to say as an artist. But I'm not really answering your question. I'm actually quite curious to see this movie. I had seen the trailer some time ago, and I'm, as I said, really curious to see, first of all, how a musician is portrayed, because it's always very exciting for us classical musicians to see movies where the subject is classical music and to see the performance of the actor if it's really authentic. But I think that should not become a political movement. Let's put more women, or let's put more people belonging to a certain layer of society, or this or that. I think things should remain genuine. For example, I was quite, disappointed when I think politics and art should not be mixed. I found very, not very intelligent, for example, to have Russian musicians banned from performances, or Russian composers not being performed, or Russian authors not being put in theaters. One doesn't have anything to do with the other, because great art remains great art. Beethoven was forbidden to be performed.
Maria, I'm so sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off
Yeah,
because
it's a big discussion, actually. It's an interesting discussion.
It's an enormous discussion.
Yes.
Lots of people feel the opposite of you, of course.
Course,
there are lots of artists who
of
are very
course.
politically motivated. But thank you so much. Just before we go, though, we always end our show with our guest's cultural pick of the moment. You've chosen Yaron Herman's solo album, Alma.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Yaron, whom I know, but this is not why I've chosen. I really love this album. I think it's a great, great album, and I think Yaron is a great musician. And here is somebody who is really searching. Yes, I highly recommend to anybody who loves jazz to listen to this very beautiful, profound music. And there's some coincidences there. Actually, Yaron ended up recording on the same piano which I recorded Nuit, Jour, in the same concert hall where I recorded, which is here in Paris. So that was a point of meeting when we actually crossed paths.
Thank you so much, Maria.
Have a listen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to leave you with Melody from Yaron Herman's solo album, Alma. Your album, Nuit et Jour, is out now. Thank you, Maria Martinova, for joining us. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Thank you.